I just kept things very simple. I really believe that people should keep their word. At the height of his fame, Charlie Sheen made $150 million, but by 2016, he had no money. There was something that took all the money between 2007 and 2012. It wasn't just bad trades or divorces that cost a lot of money. Every single week, Charlie spent $200,000 on one thing. He told him that even the Mexican drug gangs were shocked by how much he was paying. They got a bad news in 2010 that changed everything. The hush money began to come in. $10 million to keep people quiet. But that was only the start of his horror. He was born in a New York City hospital on September 3, 1965. He was given the name Carlos Erwin Estevez. Martin Sheen, his father, was barely making ends meet at the time. He was trying to feed a family of 6 while working off-Broadway shows for just $95 a week. Janet, his mother, trained as an artist. Their room wasn't very big. The bills quickly piled up. He would also become an actor with his brothers Emilio, Ramon, and Rene. Charlie, on the other hand, felt different from the start. He would finally drop the Esteve name and use his father's stage name, Sheen, not just to fit in but also to stand out and make his own way. He would always have to live with that choice. The family left New York when Charlie was 3 years old. It was enough for Martin to get a part in the movie The Subject Was Roses, which took place in 1968. Their new house wasn't fancy, but it was right in the middle of Hollywood's dream factory. Charlie was too young to understand, but he did look on. For months, he saw his dad go on movie sets and not come back. He saw his mom deal with having 4 kids and a bad income. He went to movie sets with them. He went to a lot of business parties. He knew what it meant to be someone and could name great actors when he was 5 years old. He learned early on that being famous gave you power, and he wanted both. Charles got his first playing job when he was 9 years old, in 1974. Played a small part in his dad's dark World War II film, The Execution of Private Slovak. At a wedding, he played a kid with no name. It seemed innocent on paper. That being said, the movie was about execution, death, and deception. He saw his father act out violent breakdowns over and over again on the set. Martin repeatedly faked his own death while the 9-year-old stood nearby and watched. People over 21 were drinking a lot behind the scenes. Some were using drugs to help them deal with the hard stuff. Later, the director said that letting a kid be there was probably a bad idea. But Martin thought Charlie needed to see how show business really worked, and Charlie did. The stress, the darkness, and the way that pain could be made to look like art. Then March 1977 came along. He was 12 years old. Martin played the lead role in Apocalypse Now, so he was taken to the Philippines to see the set. The movie was already cursed. It was hit by a typhoon, the price was going through the roof, and Francis Ford Coppola was pushing Martin to the limit to make the movie more realistic. When Charlie got there, his father was almost dead. Martin had a very bad heart attack on March 5. He walked with a cane and was crying. His hair had turned gray all the way through. He seemed like a ghost. Charlie saw him calling for a priest to say his last words. That moment made him feel something deeply. The man he thought couldn't be beat looked 80 years old, but he was only 36. In the end, Charlie called that moment the root of everything. It was the pain that stuck. The moment he realized how short life was. He went to Santa Monica High School for the first time in 1979 when he got back home. He was very good at baseball. He had a 40-15 record as a shortstop and pitcher and could throw up to 85 miles per hour. Even though his teacher said he was a great athlete, Charlie's eyes were always on something else. Sean Penn, Rob Lowe, Chris Penn, and Robert Downey Jr. were his friends. They were more than just friends. They lived like movie stars and partied like it. It was common for them to drink Coke at parties at night. People in the business world gave them joints like candy. Charlie began drinking and taking pot often when he was only 17. He had fun at the parties and got something he couldn't get at home. A place to hide, freedom, and escape. By 1983, his school life was a mess. Only 32% of the time he was there over 3 years. He did poorly in school. He stopped getting books for the house. His folks let him go to summer school. "No," he said. "Is there school in the summer? That's crazy." He was already sure that he would become famous. It was over for baseball. There was a grant for him to play shortstop at the University of Kansas, but he turned it down. He instead worked with Emilio and the Penn brothers to make short pictures. There are more than 200 Super 8 movies. That was where his heart was at the moment. He was kicked out of school that same year, just a few weeks before graduation. He was no longer in school, but he wasn't sad. He told his parents that if acting didn't work out, he'd get his GED. Not until 2013, when he was 48 years old, did he finally finish high school. That's where he changed his name. He changed names and became Charlie Sheen instead of Carlos Estevez. As a child, he changed his name from Carlos to Charlie. Now, he took on his dad's stage name as well. Martin had done it to stay alive. Agents wouldn't even call back if I called with a Spanish name. Charlie went in the same direction. He later said, "I don't feel Latino when I wake up. I'm an American white guy." He had to fit in, and it worked. Silence of the Heart, a 1984 TV movie, was Charlie's first real part. He was 18 years old at the time. Ken Cruz is the best friend of a kid who wants to kill himself. The movie was sad and heavy, full of guilt and sadness. He had to show how he really felt. The whole country saw it. Some people noticed. After that, in 1985, Out of the Darkness came out. He had a small part alongside his dad, who was after Sam Killer's son. It didn't get much attention, but he got to experience working on a real set and going to late-night Hollywood parties. And that's where he first found drugs. He made The Boys Next Door that same year. The story was scary. Charlie played a teenager who was mean. To stay in character, he shut himself off, never did anything out of character, and even scared the team. He really hurt his co-star Maxwell Caulfield when he hit him without notice in one scene. Almost everything stopped being made. During the 35-day shoot, he dropped 18 pounds. People talked about how he was feeling in their heads. But Oliver Stone saw the video and put him in the movie Platoon. Even though he said he was afraid about Charlie's mental health, he played Cappy, the football captain, in Lucas in 1986. It took 47 takes to get the hallway scene right. He cried because of the stress. He lost a lot of weight and went from 165 to 145 pounds because of an eating problem. Corey Haim gave him drugs that he was prescribed. That was the start of things that were harder. The movie didn't do well at the theaters. Charlie fired his agent because he was to blame. He was living in a rundown Studio City apartment with 2 other people for $47 a week at that point. It cost $180 to rent. He ate a lot of top ramen and stole food from test tables. When his dad found out he was using, he stopped giving him money. For 6 months, they didn't talk. He was about to give up and move to Ohio to work with an uncle as a builder. After that came Platoon. He took a hitchhiker to the audition because his 1976 Datsun had been taken away because he owed over $127 in back payments. He stomped in, hot and upset. Oliver Stone believed it was great. During a fake fight scene at the repeat, Charlie hurt his shoulder but kept going. That made it official. He got the part. The $6 million movie would make him famous. He was only 48 hours away from leaving Hollywood for good just a few days before. In February 1986, Charlie Sheen was 500 feet above the Philippine jungle, hanging out of an open-door Huey chopper. It happened during a fight scene in Platoon. When the pilot banked too hard, the door swung open and Charlie fell. He was 20 years old, not strapped in, and about to fall. But Keith David was sitting next to him. Keith grabbed Charlie by the shirt and gear and pulled him back from what would have been a direct fall to death. This wasn't planned. The movie wasn't made for 2 days. The crew was shook up. Safety rules were changed, and Charlie will never forget it. It was something he said on TV. His life was saved by Keith David. The scare caused almost certain death came after a tough 30-day boot camp that almost broke the cast. Their military guide Dale Dye took them deep into the bush before the cameras even started rolling. Not a shower. There were only foxholes, 70-pound packs, swamps, and rats. They dug ditches with their bare hands, ate cold food from the ship, and slept in mud and sweat. Dee set off fake ambushes at night with bombs and blanks. Charlie lost 20 pounds, and his boots got blisters that got infected and turned black. Forrest Whitaker had a cut on his hand from the barbed wire. Johnny Depp made his ears hurt. When Willem Dafoe fell during a trick, he broke his ribs. Charlie began drinking a lot to deal with things. The fear, the noise, and the dark. It went into their thoughts and got worse because of Oliver Stone. He didn't want players, Oliver Stone. He sought troops. He cut Charlie off from the rest of the cast and told them not to talk to him. This made Charlie feel alone. By shooting and setting things off at night, Stone woke them up. To keep them scared. So that there would be real conflict, he told the actors playing Elias and Barnes to dislike each other. He made it feel like war on set. He didn't even like the dirt. His flight took place over red Vietnamese dirt because the ground there didn't look good enough on camera. He didn't sleep much. At one point, he said that the editor was hiding video from him, even though it hadn't been shot yet. The actors didn't like him while they were shooting, but afterward, they said he brought out something raw in them that couldn't have come out any other way. Charlie had a one-day appearance in Ferris Bueller's Day Off after making it through Platoon. He got $100,000 for 3 minutes on TV. He stayed awake for 48 hours straight to look tired. He came in with yellow eyes and a twitch. I made up most of it. He smiled as he watched from behind the camera. Everything changed because of that little role. He made more than just war movies. He could be funny. He was quick to steal the show. And those Hollywood parties began behind the scenes. John Hughes asked him to go out. It had cocaine in it. Quick, simple, and never-ending. He now had money. Well known. All of it made the behavior worse. From late 1986 to early 1987, Platoon won awards and Charlie was asked to come back for reshoots. But now something was different. The coke wasn't just for fun anymore. Even the Mexican drug gangs thought he was dealing because he was so deep in it. That was just how much he used. He bled from his nose for 18 hours during one process. He stood up by putting ice cubes up his nose. Oliver Stone almost cast someone else instead, but the movie bombed. It earned $138 million, but only cost $6 million to make. Charlie's share grew quickly. He was worth $2 million by December 1986. After that came Nike endorsements and studio deals. There was nothing good about it, it only made things worse. Then Wall Street came along in 1987. Charlie studied money like his life depended on it so he could play Bud Fox. He worked at Bear Stearns during the day and went to bars in Seaport at night. He even put his own $20,000 into stocks just to see what it would do. The movie paid him $750,000. But the stress broke him. At the time, he was seeing Daryl Hannah, but they didn't talk much on set. Some critics said they didn't have good chemistry, but the movie still did well. The Oscar went to Michael Douglas. Greed is good spread across the country. Charlie was a star, but there were cracks everywhere inside him. He joined Young Guns in 1988. He learned to shoot and ride quickly for the part of Dick Brewer. During a scene, his horse ran away, and he almost lost control. It made $45.7 million in the US and $11 million in other countries. Fans flocked to the set. Hell's Angels were hired by the company to keep people safe. They showed up at the place where Henry Hill died, Charlie couldn't be hurt. Then came 8 Men Out, which was also a hit. He was a happy felsh. He was soft and unsure, and he was a baseball player with a moral mess. He was shot in Chicago. Got good reviews and became close with the group. But the drugs kept going up. Even though he was making $5 million a year by 1988, cocaine was already a big part of his life. Emilio tried to help Charlie, but he was falling fast. In 1990, he went to rehab for the first time. He said he was tired and told USA Today he was serious about staying sober. But the pattern was already there. He changed his name to Rick Wild Thing Vaughn in Major League. From spring camp to Real 95, he trained. I like the fastballs, the glasses, and the walk-up music from Bimipai. It all turned into a story. The movie made $49.8 million, and Charlie's image as a rebel came true. He made $1.75 million. Then he killed Kelly Preston on January 1, 1990. They had a promise. He said it happened while he was cleaning the gun. The bullet just missed her arm. She visited Cedars-Sinai. The police did not file any charges. Everyone knew it wasn't just about guns, but she stuck to the story. Coke, anxiety, and losing control were all parts of it. The story got tabloids $50,000. She left. He hasn't lost his job yet. His next picture was about Navy SEALs. It showed them rappelling from helicopters, fighting underwater, and real SEAL training. He hurt his back doing a trick and became dependent on painkillers. 3 different doctors gave me Percocet and Vicodin. That wound never got better. The medicines only got new names. He made $2.8 million with Hot Shots, spoofed Top Gun in 1991, and showed that he could carry a comedy. The movie made $78.9 million. His deadpan delivery was praised by our reviewers. I want speed and donuts. The studios needed more. In 1993, he did Hot Shots, Part 2, which made him $7 million. Martial arts, kicks, and blasts were taught by Van Damme's choreographer. In the same year, though, he testified in the Heidi Fleisch case. He said that he had spent $50,000 on whores. The mask was coming off. He was hospitalized because he was so tired while shooting, which pushed back the schedule by 10 days. He had disagreements with the director of The Three Musketeers, wanted more love scenes, and trained with a sword for 4 hours every day. He made $3 million, but the cocaine made him move more slowly. He missed the marks and had to do them again. The movie did make $53 million, though. Then there was Rated X, a movie about the people who run pornographic businesses. Emilio led the movie. Charlie played Artie Mitchell, shot sex scenes that were too close to home, and then he relapsed. Charlie had a $12 million fortune by 1991. He lived in a Malibu home worth $4.2 million. It costs $2.8 million to buy another one in Beverly Hills. That year, he made $15 million, but he spent $200,000 a year on drugs. Drug dealers dressed as chefs delivered drugs to movie sets. His manager said he was just tired, but records that got out showed that he was really sick. His face did too. His eyes did too. In 1994, he played Major League 2 and won $2 million. People still liked Wild Thing, but things were worse on set. They got married in Las Vegas after 6 weeks. They were married for 6 months. She said he hired whores for $2,000 a week. After that came Spin City. Michael J. Fox walked away. Charlie went to help. Ratings went down after 100 shows, even though he won Golden Globes in 2001 and 2002. He made $600,000 per episode. In 2011, it was found that he had HIV. They might have caught it years ago, maybe at that time. In 2003, CBS was looking for a crazy person. Plus, they had to be someone whose real life was just as crazy as the one they wanted to show on TV. They were not interested in a show. Their dream man wouldn't have to do anything. That's why they called Sheen. When he walked onto the set of 2.5 Men, they didn't even blink. He was still wearing the same clothes from a 3-day binge at the Palms. They really liked it. People laughed at him even though his hair was a mess and his breath smelled like booze. Charlie looked into the camera in the now-famous bar scene from the pilot and started talking about his tiger blood and Adonis DNA. Those words would haunt him for years to come. Chuck Lorre, who helped make it, just nodded and let it happen. There was no playing here, this was lightning. The premiere was on September 22, 2003, and 15.4 million people watched. It was the most watchers for a CBS comedy debut in 6 years. From behind the scenes, they spent $4.2 million making Stage 25 look like Charlie's real Malibu bachelor pad. $80,000 were spent just making it look like his house, down to the Red Bulls and vodka in the fridge. Charlie was making $250,000 an episode by season 2, but he didn't stop there. By season 6, it had gone up to $1.25 million. It made $1.8 million by season 7. In 2009, he got a 5% cut from reruns, which had never happened before. Charles was paid every time the show aired again anywhere in the world. Reruns brought in $3.1 billion and gave him an extra $24 million in 2010. He won $48 million altogether that year. Warner Brothers said he could not be replaced. As long as he made money, CBS didn't care what he did when he wasn't acting. Ads on the show alone brought in $310 million. His deal had some strange rules. He got $50,000 for each show he finished sober, and he had to pay a $100,000 fine if he missed more than 2 shoot days in a season. He had a net worth of $150 million. He had everything, but things began to break. In 2006, Charlie was so drunk that his blood alcohol level was 0.18 when they filmed episode 14 where he seduces a nun. His speech was slurred. Using voice replacement software, they redo the whole show for $340,000. He split up with Denise Richards around this time. In April, she got a protection order because Charlie had pointed a gun at her during Christmas dinner. She talked about a man who drank 2 or 3 bottles of wine before noon and then used drugs in his trailer in between takes. From 2004 to 2005, she was in 3 shows and got $75,000 for each one. But by season 3, they were yelling at each other so much that security had to step in. 5 days of work were put on hold. Then everything went off in December 2009. His wife at the time, Brooke Mueller, called 911 from Aspen. He put a 4-inch knife to her throat during a fight over his daily $2,000 drug habit, she said. In 3 days, he spent $8,000 on cocaine, which he paid for with cash advances against his next paycheck. He had clear track marks on his arms when the cops arrived. He was locked up for 30 hours. Because season 7 was put on hold for 3 weeks, Warner Brothers lost $2.4 million in ad deals. When shooting began again, they added that he used drugs to the script. He snorted 3 to 4 grams of cocaine every day and put on one of his best shows. He paid $120,000 to stay at Promises Malibu, but he left after 19 days to go back to set. This is what the doctor said. In November 2010, Charlie Sheen found out he had HIV after a regular test for his insurance. Fear spread when he didn't tell anyone, not the network, not the crew, not the cast, and not even himself. He gave almost $10 million in hush money to adult stars, prostitutes, and ex-lovers between 2010 and 2011. Later, the money records showed that $500,000 went to Brie Olson, $1.2 million to Capri Anderson, and $3.8 million to a guy who was not named. He didn't want anyone to know, but the bills were wearing him out. In less than 2 years, his wealth dropped from $150 million to $20 million. The show was sold to 194 countries for $3.5 billion, and Charlie made $47 million that season alone. He was spending $24,000 a month on HIV medicine. He also paid $15,000 a week for his partners to get secret HIV tests. In 2010 and 2011, he had to take out 3 mortgages on his Mulholland Drive mansion just to stay alive. Things got so bad. Then it took place. Warner Brothers fired him on March 7, 2011. He was charged with a felony crime involving moral turpitude after a 36-hour cocaine binge in January that caused him to have terrible abdominal pain and sent him to the hospital. Adult actors came and went from his house while a briefcase full of cocaine was brought there. Making things stopped. After going to rehab for the 3rd time, he went on TMZ and called Chuck Lorre a turd and a shishcock. That was the end. He sued Warner Brothers for $100 million, but they only agreed to pay him $10 million. The $48 million pay was gone. It was no longer the golden age. Charlie began a tour while he was still high and angry. The dangerous rocket of truth hit the road in April 2011. Fans wore Tiger Blood t-shirts and yelled as they crowded Radio City Music Hall, winning. He said he had Adonis DNA on stage and pushed ice cubes up his behind to keep them away. He talked a lot about 7.25 gram rocks of cocaine and said that Mexican drug gangs cut off his supply because they didn't think one person could use that much. It was backed up by his supplier Marco. His veteran publicist, Stan Rosenfield, quit in the middle of a tour, saying he could no longer lie. FX gave him another chance in 2012. It broke the record by having 5.74 million watchers when anger management first started. Every show Charlie made $700,000. He made $70 million from more than 100 shows. But he didn't change how he was acting. He hit a co-star in 2013. He came up big. He messed up trailers. The cost of making the movie went up by $2 million. He wasn't seen for days in March 2014. The show barely made it through its 100-episode deal before ending quietly. It had lost its power. It was no longer fun. Charles finally told everyone about it on November 17, 2015. He told everyone on Today on NBC that he had HIV. He said that over 200 people had been getting money from him for 4 years, adding up to more than $10 million. He said he wasn't sorry. But then lawsuits came. One ex-girlfriend sued for $12 million, saying she was exposed. Charlie said he slept with more than 5,000 women, but he claimed that none of them got HIV. He said it was a short-term slide into crazy drinking and abusing drugs. His support went away. Studios stopped getting calls. By 2016, he was making only $80,000 a month instead of $613,000. He used to make $300,000 a year. It was almost $6,200 some months. His costs went over $100,000. He owed lawyers $1 million and had $600,000 in credit card debt, which added up to $12 million in debt. He wasn't able to pay Brooke Muller's $55,000 monthly child support. In 2019, he owed Denise Richards $450,000 in back child support. Then there was one last crash.